Hey, what's going on, guys? Ty Dinelli from Risk Engineering Music here, checking in with you today. And today we've got a good topic that I hope saves a lot of you from having to go through this, because Lord knows I've been through this several times throughout my career. So it is about getting gypped, getting ripped off, getting scammed, whatever you want to call it, as an engineer. And trust me, it does happen, unfortunately. But I'm gonna go through some experiences that led me to getting ripped off, and I'm going to explain some things that can maybe help you, or that maybe can prevent you from getting ripped off. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, so right off the bat, like I said, getting ripped off does happen, unfortunately, in this world of engineering that we all love. And it sucks, and you're gonna be pissed, you're gonna be frustrated, you're gonna be annoyed. I guarantee it, if it hasn't happened to you already. If it has happened to you, you know the feeling. It sucks, just straight up, it sucks. So I wanna go through some things that can help you guys in the future, or present as we speak, get you through not getting ripped off. So, what happens when you get ripped off? Well, in my experience, you put in a lot of work, specifically for mixing and mastering. I'm gonna get to a recording example that I got ripped off in, but mainly it happens with mixing and mastering. So you'll go and you'll put in all this time and all this effort into the mix, and it comes time for you to get paid. And this is just from an independent artist usually. I have a whole video where I've discussed, getting paid through labels and stuff like that. Usually labels are good, like I said, but they can take a long time to get paid. When you're working with independent artists, that for me personally is where I've been screwed in the past. And it's not like, this is a ongoing thing where it's like I get screwed on a regular basis. No, this is something that happened earlier on in my career, several times though, but I figured it out and I've got the angles covered now so that I don't get screwed. And I'm gonna explain these so you guys hopefully don't get screwed either. So earlier on in my career, within the first maybe couple years that I started engineering and was doing it full time, this is where I got ripped off. There were times where I was working on a mix for somebody, and granted, I had no experience. I didn't come up under another engineer. I wasn't interning at a studio where I could shadow somebody. So I had no mentor or anything like that. I had no business background. Granted, I've always had somewhat of a good business mentality, just naturally, which I'm thankful for. But a lot of things I had to just figure out as I go. So that leads me back to where we were. Now, again, when I was kind of first starting out in those first couple years, this is where that happened. So I'd put in the time on a mix, and I would just say like, hey, yeah, no problem, you can pay me when it's done, kind of thing. And I'd put in all the time and effort, and then I'd message the artist or call the artist, whatever it was, and say, hey, I've got the song done, everything's ready to go. I'll send it over to you, and just, a reminder, you owe me X amount of dollars for whatever I was charging at the time. And I would email the song over, and I'd be waiting for a response about it, and they'd say, oh, thanks, just got it, or whatever. Yeah, I'll send the payment over soon. And then the next day came, and I'd message and just say, hey, just a reminder about the payment. And then I'd either get nothing back, or you'd hear, oh yeah, I'm gonna send that right away, man, no problem. And then the next day comes, and you're still waiting. And then the next day comes, and you're still waiting. And I think you get my point by now. They screwed me. Unfortunately, it's something that I had to figure out the hard way. And I had to figure it out a few times. I didn't learn my lesson the first time. I just said, oh, that was a one-off situation. It probably won't happen again. Same thing would happen. I'd send a mix out to somebody, and they'd just stiff me on the bill. They'd take the song and run. So after that happened, maybe 2, maybe 3 times, I said, okay, enough is enough. Now I'm gonna start asking for half up front to even start the mix. So I started doing that, and then I said, yeah, no problem. When I send the mix, you can send me the other half. That's all good. So I would do the mix, I'd get half up front, and then I would send the mix, and then, and again, this doesn't happen on a regular basis, or it didn't happen on a regular basis, but it happened enough where it was annoying and made me change how I kind of work things. So again, send the mix to them, and then I'd say, yeah, you can just send me the second half now, I'd really appreciate it. And the same thing would happen. I'd just be messaging them every day, not getting a response back, or I'd get the, yeah, no problem, man, I'll send that today, and just like, nothing. So then that happened a couple times, and I said, come on, like, what the hell, this is so annoying. So now, very early on, I realized, Kate, some people can't be trusted. And unfortunately, that just is what it is. That's the world we live in. There's a lot of great people that I work with and that I have worked with over the years that either send the money up front in full before I even get started, or when I say I have the track done, the payment comes in within seconds kind of thing. Unfortunately, there's that 5, 6, 7% that kind of just ruins it for everybody. And trust me, I've heard it from numerous artists that their engineer screwed them. So this goes both ways. Don't be an engineer that screws your clients, because the word will get around that you do that to artists and people just won't come to you. I can say for myself that I've never screwed somebody in the slightest when I've worked with somebody. I'm always sending the mix, I'm always letting them do their revisions until they're happy. On God, I can say I have never screwed somebody in my whole career. Now, going back, at that point where I was asking for half up front and then half after I sent it, and was still getting screwed by a couple people, I said, that's enough. I'm not sending a mix out at all until I get every last penny that is owed to me. So, and this is something that I figured out probably within the first couple years of working as an engineer and just kind of starting the business out. So now what I do is kind of like that. I'll ask for at least half up front, and then I'll message the artist or call them or whatever when I have the song actually finished and say, hey, I've got the song done, it's ready to go, it sounds amazing, here's what I did to it, here's what I cleaned up, it's incredible, I'll say whatever I need to say about the song, and then say, hey, whenever I get that other half of the payment from you, then I can send the mix. And nobody usually ever has any issues with that, but they might at the start. There has been a couple people that have said, well, I'm not paying until I hear the mix. And then you just kind of say, look, I know it's not on you, and this is just how I treat all my clients, but I have been screwed in the past to the point where it doesn't make sense for me to send out the final mix until I've been paid. Again, this is nothing personal, this is just how I treat everyone. And most times people will understand that. And if they don't, then I just say, if that's how this has to be, then you're not getting the mix. So you've already invested half into it. You're better off just paying the other half and me sending it to you. And then we can work out any revisions you want. It's not like I just send the mix and that's it. Whatever you get is what you get. No, I say, look, if there's any revisions you want, I'm happy to work with you until you're happy with what I'm giving you. So make sure you explain that to people too. Don't just say, hey, mix is done, I need my money. Tell them what the situation is and what they're gonna get. If you can tell that they might be a little uncomfortable sending the full payment until they hear the song, just explain that to them, and most times people will understand. So that is what I still operate under today, unless I'm working with a label where the situation unfortunately is a little different. You kind of have to work on their schedule and their timeline. Again, watch the video that I have about it on my page about working with labels if you want to go into detail on that. But with independent labels and independent artists, this is how I operate. If somebody isn't comfortable with doing that, it's no problem. I understand, and I say, hey, look, that's totally fine. I get it. You're a little uneasy about sending the money in before you get the mix, but that's how I operate. So if somebody isn't comfortable with doing that, I just say, no problem. I'm not the engineer for you. I hope you find someone that you can work with. And there's no hard feelings or anything, but 9 times out of 10, when I've said that, they're like, okay, no, I really want to work with you, so it's fine, we'll work under your terms. and everything goes fine. I send a mix, and 9 times out of 10, they love what they're hearing, and there might be a couple revisions, which I have no problem making for them until they are totally happy. So no one gets screwed when you work like this. You're always covered. Your client most times feels comfortable when you explain to them the whole situation, and everything's good. That's it. Now, there was a time that I got screwed on a recording session, and this has, I think, only happened once in my career, and I'm not going to necessarily name any names. I will say they are somewhat of a bigger Toronto artist. It's not like one of the big guys like Drake or Tory or Weeknd or anyone like that, but they definitely have a buzz in the city. Anyways, I got a call from this person who was wanting to come to my studio, and they said, hey, it's such and such on the phone. I was wondering if I could get some studio time tonight. And I said, man, you know what? Like, I'm already booked tonight. I can get you in tomorrow. And this guy said, yeah, but like, you know who I am, right? I said, yeah, I know who you are, but unfortunately I already have paid clients that are coming in. And he said something like, oh, well, if you could just squeeze me in for like an hour or two, like that would be awesome. I'll even pay you double. And then I was like, all right, he'll pay me double. Let me see what I can do here. So I was able to kind of move a session around where I just bumped somebody up an hour or something like that, where I had a 2-hour window in between sessions. So I said, all right, come down, no problem. He came down and this was a rapper, and showed up with maybe 15 people. It might have even been more than that. Again, and I operate out of a condo that isn't very big. This was my old space too, which was even smaller than the place that I have now. Showed up with about 15 people or so. Scarier looking dudes too, I'm not gonna lie. But I was like, and I even went down to the lobby of my building and said, like, you know, this is just a small space. Like, I can't really accommodate all you guys here. And he said, no problem. It'll be all good. We'll be chill and whatever. I said, all right, fine, whatever, come up. We did the session. It didn't even go very well, to be honest. It was just kind of, I don't know. It just wasn't good. And then there's all these people in my place, and it's like I'm always kind of like looking over my shoulder, making sure no one's touching anything, making sure no one's going in any other rooms or anything like that. And then we finished the session, and again, it was awful. It just sucked. It was so loud, I couldn't hear anything while I was recording. People were going all in and out of my balcony, like smoking and stuff like that, drinking inside. It was just awful. And then after the session, we finished up. Some of the guys were already like leaving, and then I'm talking to the artist saying, okay, yeah, so it'll be blah, 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 but you did say you'd pay me double, so it'll be this. And he said, okay, cool, yeah, let me get your e-transfer. E-transfer for people outside of Canada is like our Canada's way of just sending money from one bank to another. So it's kind of like the easiest way to get paid in Canada if you're just trying to make a quick payment. And he said, yeah, cool, just e-transfer me. Here's my email. If you don't mind, like, just send it to me right now. And he said, oh, I gotta just, my phone's in the car. Let me just, or it was something like that. Like, let me just wait till I leave, and I'll do it the second I get into the car downstairs. I said, what am I gonna say? Like, there was nothing I really could say. I just said, yeah, sure, whatever. I already kind of knew I was gonna get screwed. And sure enough, I did. Payment never came through, never heard from the guy again. It just kind of was what it was. But there's no real way. I mean, you could ask for the payment up front in full when it comes to recording. I personally don't like doing that. I ask for a deposit up front of a little bit, and then the rest can be paid at the session. But the payment has to be made at the start of the session, throughout the session, or right when you finish the session, so that everything's covered. There's no possible way of you screwing me. So that was just another little story, but I hope you guys get some insight on this topic, and hopefully you don't get screwed in the future. I really do hope so. If you guys like this video or my other videos, please hit that like button or subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, guys, take care.